When you say you were direct before, was your recognition that that may not be the best pathway forward a result of your prior leader being that way towards you? Or was it because they were so passive, you felt like you had to run them over and there was this passive aggressive situation?
They were that direct. So they would start out the conversation with, I'm going to gut you and I don't care.
Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Welcome back to Changemakers Collective. My name is Steph.
I'm Scott, and we're so glad you've chosen to spend some time with us.
So for those that have watched this know that leadership and how you leave a legacy and how you show up and how you lead your people are very important to me. And our wonderful podcast team asked us to talk about the scariest stories in leadership. And before we really get going, because Scott, I know you and I both have a lot to say about this. I want to.
We're scared all the time.
I know. I want to talk about this off topic, but on topic. As an entrepreneur, and even Kristen at Nava Studios, we talk about how your former employees and former bosses shape how you are as an entrepreneur. So you either learn hard lessons and say, I'll never do that, or you think, man, that's how they led, so that must be how you have to lead, and that's a struggle. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle we all have to go through. So I am very strong-willed. I have a pretty clear understanding of who I am, but I did work with an individual for many years. And I went from this person to really, I couldn't make a decision on what color of white to paint a wall. And I struggled even admitting that I couldn't. But all of that was because I sat under a leader that gaslighting was a thing, manipulation was a thing, jealousy was a thing. So it really shaped, when you and I became a partner, all the questions like, what does your leadership style look like? And then I did a long few years of just re-understanding leadership. So as we talk through scary leadership stories, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, it's never too late to shift your leadership style. Although some people, and I've said this before, have a very natural way that they lead, some people have to work on it, but everybody can lead if you work on your style a little bit.
I think that's a super interesting way you said that. So would you say your prior experience caused you to come at leadership a different way than you would naturally?
Absolutely.
How so?
Because, okay, so I'm very direct. And so I just assumed prior to this that, I mean, I don't care if you really like me or not. We're working on something together, and let me just tell you how I feel, what we're doing. Get your feedback, make a decision, and let's go. Now I recognize that that style may not be well received to the entire team. I think that you don't have to dumb down your leadership style. You don't have to change, but you do have to read the room. you have to acknowledge that some people are coming with some leadership hurt. Some people are naturally just more sensitive to a direct leadership type. And then some people just need you to be direct and stop being so warm and fuzzy. So reading the room is one step of leadership, because if you want to get the best out of everybody, you really got to meet everybody where they are.
This is so fascinating. And I didn't think we were going to go this direction. So this is very cool. When you say you were direct before, was your recognition that that may not be the best pathway forward a result of your prior leader being that way towards you? Or was it because they were so passive that you felt like you had to run them over and there was this passive aggressive situation?
They were that direct. So they were not only that direct, but they would start out the conversation with, I'm going to gut you and I don't care.
Wow.
This is what we're doing today. Let's go. Now, I'm direct. So 90% of the time, I'm like, okay, no problem. But not only was their leadership direct in the, we're going to do ABC, but as you were doing ABC, they were direct in their feedback back to you. So you never know if you're doing a good job, if you're missing the mark, if you're hitting the mark, because it was all aggression all the time. So what I did, okay, let's have some self-awareness. Not that I'm all aggression all the time, but if I thought if I gave the caveat, hey, I'm very direct, this is what we're going to do, that was good enough. When the people would say back, wow, I'm not used to that leadership style, my thought was, well, you're probably just not on the right team with me. All of the talent that I burned or pushed away is staggering. Now I say, okay, how do I get the best out of you? Hey, guys, I'm typically pretty direct. How do I get the best out of you? And sometimes I still miss the mark, right? Kristen and I, our podcast wonderful Kristen, and I, not too long ago, we've worked together for a while, and I thought I was being direct and joking. And she gently reminded me, that's not how you get the best out of me. And I stopped. I apologized. I pulled back. But also knowing that even an apology in the moment is not good enough. I waited until our emotions were no longer affected. And I said, hey, I owe you another apology. And she said, hey, oh, you're fine. We're fine. But...
And then she immediately had the meeting after the meeting. And so, she's driving me nuts.
Hopefully that's not what happened. But
that's what it leads to, right?
That is what it leads to.
Yeah.
And if you are a solopreneur and you are in the industry and you are always direct, I mean, we're always leading, right? We're leading in the grocery store. We're leading in our homes. We're leading in our marriages. You're always leading. So if you are not self-aware enough with your leadership style, or you're not attentive to the teams that you're leading, again, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah, I think there's and we talk about it all the time, there's a humility factor that leadership is not about the leader.
Right.
Leadership is about getting the best out of the employees or the best out of your team or even the best out of yourself. Go.
I was talking to an individual.
You're jumping out of your seat over there.
Well, I mean, I was coaching an individual this weekend. They were struggling with their leader because the leader sets very strong boundaries with themselves, but expects zero boundaries of their team. And 50% of their team are volunteers. Okay, you can't do it. It's shame on you if you're destroying your volunteers and your paid staff. But if you're volunteering and you are rude to them, you're poor leader, you are, I mean, being dominant is just as bad as being super passive, right?
True.
You can't make a decision. You can't lead the people.
True.
If you're paying someone for a period of time, someone will continue to get a paycheck. But if you're volunteering, which is most of our nonprofit has a ton of volunteers, you'll never get the best out of your team. You'll lose them every time.
You have to serve those who are serving you, right? I mean, what's his name? John Gordon's book, The Carpenter, talks about you can't serve those you don't know. And part of your description of your prior engagement was this person didn't know how to get the best out of you. And instead of seeking first to understand, they just went at you, and your natural reaction was, all right, let's go. Put you in an immediate fight mode.
Right.
Right? I mean, so understanding how to get the best out of the people around you requires work.
Right.
Leadership is not a singular act. It is a process that goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, you as a seasoned leader, you have to be able to understand how to get and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, how to get the best out of people that are just coming up.
Mm-hmm.
If you've grown up in an era of screens and collaboration and your seasoned leader is like super dictatorial, there is always going to be conflict and less results for that matter.
Less results. This same leader, we used volunteers at a very high level, not just like 5 or 10, like 150 volunteers, 200 volunteers. And we would have these events, and there would be some repeat volunteers. But most of the time, from one year to the next, we would have to formulate mostly new volunteers. And I asked, hey, why do you think that's so? And the response was, well, if you think you could do it better, you go do it this year. Great. Thank you.
So not an answer to your actual question.
Right. What we realized is the volunteers thought the leader was sweet. And then the day of, this poor individual would just run over the volunteers. And so again, volunteers, I'm just not going to do that next year. So when we shifted I'm not going to tell you what to do, volunteers, tell me what you like to do. I'm not going to put you in a place. Help me. Oh, you need to go home at 12. It's okay that you signed up till 5. Let's let you go home.
Mm-hmm.
When we shifted just the little things, let me treat you like a person today.
What a novel idea.
What a novel idea. And let's have you sign up before you leave for next year. We had more and more repeat. And here's another thing. If you are a nonprofit and you are leading out and you have someone that's 17 that wants to volunteer and someone that's 83 that wants to volunteer, find a place for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the value of having all the age demographics, somebody may like to staple paper, and that may be your 17-year-old, or it may be your 86-year-old, but you're letting them do. Also have a list of what you want people to do. So again, as a leader, not only do you have to look at where we're going, how we're getting there, what's the vision, but the team that I've got with me, what do they have hey, I can plug in here.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we forget as leaders, because sometimes as leaders, we are so focused on our next and how to get there that we forget that we've got to bring we've got to lead. We've got to lead the team.
Well, and I think there's also, I would say every leader struggles at some point during their journey with that whole imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Where,
oh my word, I'm responsible for all this.
Yeah. Especially as a smaller business, transitioning from this is all I have to worry about me to now I have to worry about all these other folks. I don't know how to do any of those things. So, there's always a period of imposter syndrome that creates indecision and creates stress and takes your focus away from how do we solve this problem. And the more and more you're willing to bring people alongside of you from a leader perspective. Now, we've talked at length about the fact that you can't share everything with everybody. Having somebody on your senior leadership team, or through our involvement as a strategic advisor, having somebody be able to have those conversations from a leadership perspective, like, I don't know what I'm doing, help me learn, is absolutely critical. But once you get through that period, you start to be able to look backward and move forward. Look backward and say, okay, I've gained the experience and the knowledge. If you haven't done it, you haven't done it.
Right.
But once you've done it, you now can say, okay, I learned this. Now I can apply that going forward. And that's what makes our business so much more of value, because we've been in a variety of industries and a variety of sizes of business. Both of us have been with really big businesses and really small businesses and nonprofits. So yeah, we're not the smartest people in the world, but we've got a collection of experience that helps business owners be able to push forward.
Scott, I think that, and I touched on this a second ago. Leadership is not just the team that you lead.
Correct.
You can lead when you are collaborating with other people that are doing exactly what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lead out in the room then as well. Leaders listen. Leaders take feedback, not feedback and, oh, thank you, and then you don't do anything with it. Leaders do look backwards to go for it. You don't look backwards in a, oh, these were the great days, but
correct.
How did we do this well? How do we move this forward? So, most of the time people think leadership is simply just how I'm leading people, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, I could not agree more. There's a book that I just got done reading called Strength to Strength by Albert Brooks, who's a world-renowned psychologist. And it is primarily directed to those of us, not you, those of us who are in the middle part of our lives that are...
You're so funny.
that are transitioning from, okay, I've spent the time and energy to learn and to do and to grow and push and push and push and try to innovate. But he talks about going to
you didn't put it in your notes.
Crystallize knowledge that is wisdom, essentially. All along the way, as you're growing as a leader, as you're growing as a business person, as you're growing as a human, you're accumulating knowledge. There comes a point in your life where the volume of knowledge you have and the value therein needs to be passed on to other people. Otherwise, you're not leading. If you are a dictatorial leader like your prior boss and not helping people grow in their own leadership, there's going to be an enormous vacuum of leadership as that business matures. We've talked about the transition, the crazy transition of all the baby boomers retiring and all those younger generations taking over. The detriment of the way the baby boomers often led was it was very much everything was in my head.
Right.
And I'm not really giving you any insight as to how I came up with those decisions. So he talks about in his book, hey, we have to be able to progress from a position of acquiring knowledge to a position of distributing knowledge.
So, Scott, we talk about psychological safety all the time. So I was just a part of a group that was largely, the work was done largely by volunteers. And the leader of the volunteers, who did a spectacular job, but they came to me and said, I'm not doing this next year. It's too stressful. And I said, okay, let's not quit. Let's discuss what worked well. And, she listed all these things that worked well. And I said, okay, what were 5 things that wanted you to quit? And it had nothing to do with the volunteers. It had everything to do with organization. So, just in not even poor organization, just misaligned organization. So I said, okay, do you feel better? And the individual didn't use psychological safety, but she alluded to, she felt so safe having the conversation with me that, yeah, okay, she wasn't going to quit. She would do it next year, but here's some things that needed to change. If we are, and we're not knocking the baby boomers, it is a cultural mentality of top-down leadership. But as we shift, if we don't create pockets of psychological safety as leaders, then even as a solopreneur, if you are using volunteers or if you're collaborating, if you don't create safe spaces to have, how do we fix this? So you'd never be able to pass the wisdom down if A, you didn't feel comfortable passing it, but you didn't create atmospheres for them to receive what you're trying to teach them.
Come on. That's super good. Why? So why is that? Why is there, and you segued this perfectly, because one of the things that Dr. Brooks talks about in this book is that there is a fear of legacy going away. Like, I've built this, I've built this, I've grown it, and if I stop doing it,
It'll fall apart.
well, not only will it fall, it'll just go away. So as we get further on in our career, you start thinking about, okay, when I retire, what impact have I had in my life? And what do I have to do today so that, much like Achilles, my name's going to be remembered? Now, we have to steer ourselves away from
Pride.
Yes, exactly right. There's an interesting quote about the fear of non-existence, where when people have this fear, not necessarily of dying, but the fear of death is that the fear of that their name and legacy and everything that they stood for as an individual on the earth is just going to go away. And I thought that was a fascinating way to describe it. More people are not scared about the way they're going to die or the fact that they're going to die. It's, oh, well, how am I going to be remembered? Nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to show up to my funeral. So we talk about, okay, well, and we'll talk about this in an upcoming episode. Let's talk about eulogy virtues versus, everyday virtues.
Oh, that's good.
And, so going back to the fact that prior leadership was built around an atmosphere of fear. And if you're fearful that your idea is going to get stolen, you're fearful that your staff is going to be smarter than you, you're fearful that you're going to appear not as smart as you portray yourself to be, you never, ever are able to succeed at the level that you want. So when we talk about how do you debrief after the volunteer thing, instead of talking about, how did we succeed, you pat each other on the back and say, yeah, great job. But what if, and we talk about this coming from an aspect of positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement. If we had 10,000 people come to this event instead of 400, what would we have to change? That's a much more interesting and non-threatening way to talk about capacity building than, this was never going to be able to grow. If I said to you, you can't grow because we don't have enough volunteers, and how are we going to get more volunteers? And it becomes very negative. Whereas if I said, man, this was such a great event. If we had 10,000 people show up next year, what would we have to do? Puts everybody in a position of growth mindedness.
That's Chad Jenkins' whole thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Put a 0 on it,
Yep.
right? Like if you 10x
That's a
something.
fantastic book, by the way. If you have not read Add a Zero, Just Add a Zero by Chad Jenkins, you need to do that.
Right. But the sole purpose is just change your mindset. Changing your mindset. So as leaders, so we all have scary stories about leadership. Self-awareness is a good place to start. If you think you are a great leader, but you're not learning,
Check yourself before you wreck
Right.
yourself.
Because your leadership style can make or break your business. So,
Man, this is so good. Before we bounce, Don't let the anticipation of something bad happening at some unknown point in the future, maybe, also known as fear, cause you to act in a way that's not congruent with your values and your vision and your mission and your collaboration. So put that in your pocket. Make sure to like this episode, subscribe to it, repost it to your friends, share it with all your colleagues, actually share it with your competitors so you can build some collaboration and live a life of purpose on purpose. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.